Hello and welcome to the Franchise Tag Podcast College Show. I am your host, Andrew Manning. Now, this is usually the part where I'd introduce my co-host, Alex, but unfortunately, due to work commitments, he could not join me for week one, which is a shame. He did join me, however, for week 0 over in Dublin for the Aer Lingus Classic. We were out there. We got a lot of footage. We met a lot of fans. We had a great time. The fans were brilliant. The game started off a bit slow. There was a lot of mistakes with the wet weather, but second half pulled through and it ended up being a great game. That was K-State versus Iowa State. Ended 21-24 to Iowa State. Was generally a really, really good experience. Really enjoyed it. One of the highlights for me was doing the press conference afterwards. Got to hear the young quarterbacks, Avery Johnson and Rocco Becht, talk at the podium, and just seeing the maturity from them and how they spoke, both obviously one losing and one winning, and how that came across, and leadership and accountability and things like that was really, really good. We've got some footage of that, so keep your eyes on social media and we'll put some of that out. Got some conversations with the Big 12 commissioner as well, so keep your eyes peeled for some content from week 0. But we are here for week 1, and week 1 does not disappoint. There's some big games. We've been saying that college football is moving in the right direction. It is getting better and better every year. I know a lot of my friends that are just pure NFL fans this year have started to attract towards college football and be more interested. We've got games on DAZN over in the UK now, if you didn't already know, so you can pick up a lot more. It's more accessible to watch on TV in the UK, so that's a really, really strong positive. So the playoff expansion, the games are better. What a time to get involved in college football. And as I said, week 1 doesn't disappoint. So this week, it's going to be a slight different show, different structure. I'm just going to go through some of the games that I really liked this week, tell you my thoughts and predictions. And then next week, when Alex is back, we will review them and we will go through week 2. And we might talk about some of our conference champions and Heismans and things like that. But let's get into it. Week 1, start off. There is a massive game. That is Texas at Ohio State. Ohio State, obviously the national champions from last year. They actually beat Texas on the way to that final. Texas are the number 1 seed. Ohio State, the number 3 seed. Ohio State is actually the 1-point favorite in this game. That has moved since Monday. I know I've started making notes on Monday. They were the 2.5-point favorite. Yesterday, 1.5-point favorite. Now a -1-point favorite. So it looks like the betting companies and the critics think this is going to be a really, really good game too. The big 2 things with this game that most people are talking about is probably the fact that both these teams had so many players drafted to the NFL last season. I think I heard that the number in total across these 2 teams alone is 26 players were drafted and now in the NFL. So it's a lot of people to replace. Most notable for both teams is the quarterbacks. So we'll start with Texas. Obviously, Texas bringing in the very hyped Arch Manning at quarterback, taking over from Quinn Ewers. Got a couple of starts last season when Quinn Ewers was injured. So we got to see a little bit of what he can do, what attributes he's got. Obviously, a lot of people know his uncles and his granddad and talk about his game. And everyone is really excited about seeing what he can do. I've got to hold a little bit of expectation back from him, I think, because I don't think I've seen enough from him. I think he looks really good. He's definitely good in the pocket and he's a lot more athletic than people give him credit for, which is just going to be a massive upside in this Texas team. But it is week 1 and he's going up against a strong team. So I wouldn't expect fireworks too much first game. I think by sort of week 5, week 6, we might see him firing on all cylinders and looking like, he's the Heisman Trophy favorite. So I think we'll start to see that Arch Manning later in the year. But week 1, will we see that? I'm not sure. As I said, there's lots of players to replace. He's going to, on offense, he's going to have a weapon in Ryan Wingo as well at wide receiver. So watch out for him to be targeted quite a bit if you're not familiar with all the names. And then obviously at running back with this team, they've been, over the years, they've been a run-first team, and they've really relied heavily on those running backs. They're going to start with Wisner at running back, I believe, but they do have CJ Baxter, who 2 years ago I was really, really high on. I was really excited to watch him play last year, but he got injured before the season, was out for the whole year, so I saw none of him. But he's back, apparently fully healthy. So if he is fully healthy, keep an eye on CJ Baxter, because I was really high on him a couple of years ago, and I think he's going to be really, really good. And then that defense, Steve Sarkisian defense, it's got some big names on it. I know, obviously, we talked about what's been replaced, but the likes of Colin Simmons, Anthony Hill on that front seven, and then in the secondary, they've got Malik Muhammad as well. They're going to be big names going into the draft next year, I believe. So there's some big names to watch out for, highly talented guys. So lot to like about this team. There's a reason why they are the #1 seed going into the season. And then you've got that Ohio State team, my team, Ohio State. Again, they have had a replacement at quarterback with Kyle McCord going into the NFL. We're bringing in, and we have chosen to go with Julian Sayin instead of Kleinholtz. So Julian Sayin wins the job. I must have to say, this is a battle of the #1 recruit quarterbacks from their classes. Arch Manning was #1 recruit, and Julian Sayin was the #1 recruit who flipped and actually decided to decommit and go to Ohio. So that's a really good pickup for us. We've decided to go forward with him. So he's obviously looking good preseason, and is a name to watch out for the future, I believe. I think there's going to be a lot of hype around him, maybe going into next season, because he's not going to be draft eligible till 2027, I believe. So keep your eye on him, see what he can do. This is going to be a good test for him. Lots of changes on the O-line for Ohio. So week 1, they're going to need some time to gel. So I am a bit worried with it being a new guy, not really got a lot of experience at college football, new O-line. I think Steve Sarkisian is going to come at them quite heavy, and really put the pressure on that youngster, which might be quite difficult. They've also had to replace their staple for last year, if you like, at running back, when they had Travion Henderson and Quinton Judkins, who were both really highly drafted players and really carried the team. So going in with James Peoples, and I think Bo Jackson will probably get involved a little bit there. But that, having said that, over the years, we've not been saying, oh, it's Ohio's run game that wins them games. We always talk about them and LSU being wide receiver U, and they haven't failed us again this year. They're going to go in with what I would say is the best offensive player in college football right now, with Jeremiah Smith. They need to get him involved in the game really, really quickly. I know last year when they met up, Steve Sarkisian managed to shut down Smith. I think he only managed 4 receptions, didn't manage loads of yards, wasn't his usual self. They managed to double team him, shut him down. But that doesn't matter. Carnell Tate is the one to watch in this game, I believe. So don't sleep on Carnell Tate. I'm really high on him. And then they've got really nice pieces like Brandon Inniss is going to come through this year. And then it looks like we found our next wide receiver 1 for the future, and Quincy Porter as well. So that offense is going to be good. Max Clare as well at tight end, going to be a really heavy favorite to be the tight end 1 in the draft next year again as well. But yeah, the losses on that defense was just really, really hard to replace. We've lost pretty much a whole front 7, bar Sonny Styles, and we lost virtually some really, really good people in the backfield. But we've said that Ohio have the best offensive weapon in college football. I believe they also have the best defensive weapon in Caleb Downs as well. Going to be playing at safety. He's a bit of a hybrid safety. He's going to be, in that backfield and bearing down on Arch Manning. Another notable thing to note with Ohio State is they have had 2 changes at the coordinator position. Ryan Day has brought in Matt Patricia as the defensive coordinator. Obviously got that NFL background, knows NFL schemes. So he's going to be throwing loads of different plays at this Texas offense. So whether Steve Sarkisian, who has had previous experience in facing the likes of Wink Martindale last year, so he's got that experience in facing former NFL defensive coordinators. So that's going to be an interesting battle between those two. And then we have brought, we've also had a change offensive coordinator as well. So we brought in the wide receiver coach who everybody loves. He's now going to be calling the plays, and it's not going to be Ryan Day, which some expected it might be. So we're going to see a lot from those wide receivers. As I said, if they get Jeremiah Smith involved early into this game, I think they've got a chance. It's at Ohio as well, which obviously pays in factors. In college football, the home and away advantage is a lot bigger than it is in the NFL, which I think is why they're the 1-point favorite. I think it's going to be really hard to split these two teams with the amount of unknown with the new guys and how long it's going to take them to gel. But that's the joy of this new format, that you can lose week one and still qualify for the playoffs. You know, Ohio State lost 2 and still managed to go on and win the Natty. So this is going to be a great test for both teams. I think it's going to set them up really, really nice for the season as well. I'm going to side with Ohio State in this one as well. I think that home advantage just play a factor. The noise is going to be really, really loud there. It's a hard place to go and play. And Texas, like I said, young quarterback, lots of changes, not in their own familiar environment. So that's why I think I'm going to go with Ohio State. But this game could go either way. Game 2 is Alabama at FSU. Alabama have got they brought in Ryan Grubb back to join Kalen DeBoer. Had his stint at the Seahawks, didn't quite work out, and he's come back to join Kalen DeBoer at Alabama, which is really, really exciting. Alabama are the 14-point favorites in this game. Obviously, FSU last year were a massive disappointment in terms of what they managed to do. There was a lot of hype about how they would play and how they would go. So we're looking for a massive improvement on them this year. They cannot afford to do that again. But Bama, I think that this is the one you probably want to keep your eye on their team. We've already spoke about the fact that they've changed their offensive coordinator. They've had the key thing is Ryan Grubb and Kalen DeBoer have always managed to work well and develop young quarterbacks and get the best out of them. We've seen that with Penix at Washington. And hopefully we can now see this now, because these are another team that have had a change at quarterback with Jalen Milroe going on, and they're bringing in Ty Simpson, who I think it looks like he could be a really, really good option for them. And then with Ryan Grubb and Kalen DeBoer, he's just going to push on and move forward. So it's going to be exciting to see them. I think on offense as well, we talked about Jeremiah Smith at Ohio. The next guy for me is Brian Williams at Alabama as offensive weapons. He's electric. If you haven't seen him, watch the tape from last year. Really, really good. They've got some good protection up front for the young Ty Simpson as well. And Caden Proctor, who at left tackle is going to be a big name again that you're going to be watching out for all year for the draft next year. So I think this is going to be the game that Alabama really need to stamp their authority early doors. They've got a lot of difficult games. The schedule is going to be tough for them, being in that SEC. So if they get off to a good start in this one, can they cover the 14 points? Possibly. I've got this down as a 10 to 14 point victory. I know a lot of people have got them absolutely destroying them, looking at this game at 30 to 10 or something like that. So there's a possibility that Alabama could come out flying in this game and really, really stamp their authority. So I think you're going to watch this for an Alabama win, and how good it's going to be is going to be a good test for how they're going to bode for the rest of the year and whether they can get into the playoffs. I think they are one of those teams that is going to be fringe whether they get in. I know the SEC are going to get more positions into the playoffs more than other conferences. So I favor them to make it back to the playoffs. So keep your eye on them. Another massive fixture in week 1 is LSU at Clemson. Now, this is another game like the first one we spoke about, Texas versus Ohio. Can't even get my own team's name out. LSU, the number 9 seed, going to Clemson, the number 4 seed. Now, I know we didn't manage to get our prediction show out for the season, but I'm really, really high on Clemson this year. I think overall they have a really, really strong team. The whole team is really, really good. When you look at the previous winners of national championships and teams that have done well, you look at Ohio and what they did last year. They brought back all of the names from the previous year and rolled again, and it paid off. Michigan, the year before, they brought back all the names from the previous year and managed to, beat everybody and win the national championships. Teams that bring back NFL-ready veterans of college and roll again seem to be the team to watch and the team to, when they get to the playoffs, the strongest. So that, for me, there's 2 teams that have done that this year. One is Clemson and the other one is Penn State. I think they brought back a lot of strength from last year. I think, when you look at Clemson and you look at the people they've got as well, they're bringing back a quarterback in Cade Klubnik, who I have as one of my favorites to win the Heisman this year. I think their schedule's pretty favorable for him. Could put up some really big stats. I think he's definitely going to get to the playoffs. They're going to be in that championship game. They're going to win that. So his name is definitely going to be in with a shout for the Heisman Trophy as well. I think you could have got him at the start of the season at 16-1, 14-1. I'm not sure what he is now, but if you did want a little bit on him, Cade Klubnik is a great shot as a Clemson quarterback. They've also got some nice pieces, Bryant Wesco at wide receiver, but their massive strength is their defense. It looks incredible. Dabo Swinney notoriously does not use the transfer portal. He doesn't like it. He doesn't want to use it, and he relies heavily on recruiting. So fair well that it's going to be loaded with 4- and 5-star recruits. That's just how he does it, and it just takes the time of getting the right cycle of players and then developing them over a couple of years, and then you've got your win now team. That is what the situation they're in. I think TJ Parker, Peter Woods, Evion Terrell on that defense, they're going to be really, really good, especially TJ Parker and Peter Woods. They are first-round picks in the draft all day long next year. TJ Parker might actually be the best edge rusher of the draft class by the time the end of the season comes. So all round, that Clemson team is just really, really, really strong. And then on the flip side of it, you've got that LSU team. Garrett Nussmeier comes back for them at quarterback. Looked absolutely fantastic last year. I thought he was going to go into the draft last year, and I was saying to our mates, being a Giants fan, I was saying to my mates, at the top of the draft, I think we should just get offensive line or a weapon or something like that, and then wait on the quarterback, because people aren't talking about Garrett Nussmeier and Jackson Dart. I was like, if we can get them at the top of the second, and they were the 2 guys that I really wanted, was Garrett Nussmeier and Jackson Dart. We ended up with Jackson Dart, so quite happy at that. But Garrett Nussmeier was one that I really, really wanted to watch. He's another guy that's in with a shout for the Heisman. He's got a chance. I don't think the team is overall as strong as the Clemson team, but his quality can definitely produce and be there. And they're going to be a team, again, that I think you might be talking about at the end of the year. Their schedule is difficult, but at the end of the year, we might be talking about them as a playoff team as well. They have got Caden Durham at running back, which I think is a really special running back. Not a lot of people are talking about him. I'm not sure why, because I think he's fantastic. They're going to rely heavily on him in this game. Well, they need a win. They need to win an opening game. Last year, they didn't have any success in playing USC, they dropped the ball in that one, and they should have won that one. They are actually the 4-point underdogs in this one. So Clemson, the minus 4-point favorites in this. And I do actually favor being at Clemson as well. Clemson to win this game. And I do think it'll be by more than 4 as well. I think the strength of that team overall is just going to be too much for Garrett Nussmeier. I know they have brought back Harold Perkins on defense at LSU, but he's had his injury worries throughout his college career. So, that might. I know they brought over Patrick Payton as well. So, they have got some decent names on that defense, but I just think they might get overwhelmed with that Clemson team. I can see this being sort of a 7-10 win for Clemson. And then finally, you've got the big game at the end of the college week 1 in Notre Dame at Miami, the number 6 seed versus the number 10 seed. So we've got 3 matchups just there of top 10 teams playing each other in week 1. As I said, it's just fantastic to be a college fan right now. Notre Dame had a lot of success last year, managed to get to the national championship and just fell short. They are not in a conference. They are an individual team. So, their schedule is very different and it's very favorable, I believe, most years. So they should be able to produce the goods again to get to the playoffs with their schedule, I think. But this is going to be a tough task for them going against Miami. It's in Miami as well. And they are the number 10 seed. Mario Cristobal has managed to somehow get in Carson Beck from Georgia, was going to go into the draft, didn't go into the draft. Money talks. Carson Beck is at Miami. We will have to see how well he has recovered from his elbow injury, though. I know that's kept him out of a lot of preseason as well. And whether, throwing the ball, those sorts of injuries can niggle and really not let you release the ball properly. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. But they've got the offensive line to help him. That offensive line is loaded with NFL stars on it. So that should be good for him. And then on the flip side, you've got Notre Dame, very, very strong on defense every year. Yet again, they're going to be strong on defense. They've also got a very, very strong player in Jeremiah Love at running back, probably the best running back in the country. But what we want to know from them is what is CJ Carr, the new quarterback? He redshirt freshman last year. Riley Leonard goes into the NFL and CJ Carr comes in. So last year they were predominantly run first with Jeremiah Love, and Riley Leonard was a rushing quarterback. So they relied heavily on that. I think they're going to have to change the way they play. And I think Marcus Freeman is a fantastic head coach. And I think he's done absolutely fantastic things to put Notre Dame back on the map. And I think they're going to be a change of identity this year. I think it's going to be, you're going to see a lot more in the passing game from CJ Carr and the run game. It's not just going to be all about the run. So teams might see a different style. So it's going to be new tape on them. It's going to be new to watch. So they could come out and I think with that being said, with how strong their defense is and the fact, Jeremiah Love is that good, I think that's going to overpower the fact that Miami have got Carson Beck. So Notre Dame are the 2.5-point favorites in this one. I think they surpassed that. I don't think it's as close as what this one predicts. I think Miami are strong. I think they're good. I think they've got a good chance of playing in the championship game against Clemson, but they're not as good as Clemson. Notre Dame, I think, should be able to qualify for the playoffs. So I think this is a 4.5, 7-point game here. I think 4 to 7 points is what I've got Notre Dame winning this one by. So, I think they cover the spread. So I've got Ohio, Bama, Clemson, and Notre Dame all covering the spread on those. So if you do fancy a bit of a dabble on a fourfold, then, I think that's well worth a bet. Week 1. They are the main games for me that I wanted to go over and talk about. There is some other games to keep an eye on. I'll just go through a couple of them in case you wanted to know what was going on. So you have got You've got Tennessee at Syracuse. I think Tennessee is going to be an interesting watch with Nico Iamaleava leaving, bringing in a new quarterback, the first ever sort of, if you like, trade as they swapped quarterbacks with UCLA. So it'd be nice to see what they can do. I'd also like to keep an eye on, where was it? There was another game. Well, you've got North Carolina at TCU. I think that's a really interesting one. Bill Belichick, obviously back in coaching, but at a college team this time in North Carolina. So that'd be really, really good to watch. I think the Nebraska game as well. I think that's on. They play at Cincinnati. I think Nebraska's really, really interesting one to watch. I think they're a team to watch out for, sneaky team to watch out for. I think Dylan Raiola had his struggles last year, but should manage to kick on a little bit this year and be a little bit better. So I would keep my eye on that one. And the Auburn game as well. I think that's one to watch. I think Auburn are sneaky good this year. And obviously being in the SEC, they haven't really sort of made a bit of noise in the SEC in the last few years. And I think this year they've got some really, really talented players. So they're another one to watch out for. But they are my games for you. As I said, next week, I think we'll be back on Thursday or maybe out for Friday. I'll be joined back with Alex. So that'd be really, really good to get him back, get his take, see if I was completely wrong about all these games, catch his thoughts as well. And we might talk some Heisman Trophy winners in there as well after we've seen week one and seen what players are looking like. But till then, guys, thanks for joining me. Keep it with the franchise tag and see you again very soon.